Hi, my name is Famanjin Kim, and today I'm going to do a video about polyamory. I think I ought to start by saying that I don't actually have any personal experience of polyamorous relationships. So why am I doing a video about polyamory when I'm not actually that personally knowledgeable about it myself? Well, I do have some knowledge of it. I understand the concept. I've come across other people who do have polyamorous relationships, including my own sister, who was polyamorous for a while, possibly still is. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've encountered a lot of people who have various forms of polyamory going on in the BDSM community and also in the bisexual community. So I am aware of polyamory from other people, although I've not personally experienced being in a polyamorous relationship. Also, I have experienced some fairly negative monogamous relationships in my time, and when things turn ugly in monogamous relationships, it can feel peculiarly imprisoning, really. You can feel trapped in abuse because it's the two of you, and that can be a very scary experience. So I've toyed with the idea, being bisexual as well, being kinky as well. There are situations where people's needs might be complicated enough where there might be a call for some form of ethical non-monogamy or maybe even polyamory. But this is a kind of controversial subject to a lot of people. We seem to assume that monogamy is the only way to do relationships and anything else is less than respectful, less than loving. That seems to be the cultural narrative about it. So I want to basically educate about what polyamory is and what it's not, and whether these relationships really are less successful or respectful than monogamous relationships, something which I would argue is more a case of prejudice than the reality. So what is polyamory and non-monogamy? Well, monogamy is where when people are in a loving relationship, they do not have any other sexual partners at all. Non-monogamy is any situation where, though they love each other, they can have other sexual partners. So it would include polyamory as well, but polyamory is a smaller subset of non-monogamy where actually people have more than one relationship. First, let's look at non-monogamy that's not strictly speaking polyamory, although you could use polyamory as an umbrella to include this. Open relationships and swinging. These are situations where it's just about sex on the side. People have a primary relationship that's a loving relationship, and that's where the love is. They're able to separate fun of casual sex from the deeper, more intimacy that they share. There are often rules and guidelines about the kind of sex that can happen outside, obviously, because they need a special intimacy for each other. But yeah, an open relationship is basically where you say we can sleep with other people, but the love is just between us. And swinging is a specific kind of ritualized thing, really, where couples come together and basically for the course of the evening of fun, they can have sex with, they can swap partners, sort of thing, just for sex. But obviously, each couple goes home on their own. So yeah. Then polyamory is where there's more than one person involved in a relationship, basically. More than two people. All relationships involve more than one person. Yeah, polyamory, strictly speaking, true polyamory is where basically you have a relationship that's more than two people. There's closed polyamory, where there's something known as polyfidelity. So there is a limit. It's a limited thing. It is basically a relationship, an exclusive relationship between more than two people. So you get things like triads where there's three people in a relationship, or quads where there's four people in a relationship together. Basically, there's a limit outside of that, So there is some degree of commitment. It's just a larger family involved in the relationship than just two people. And then there's open polyamory, I suppose, where there's always an option. If you meet someone and you fall in love or whatever, you can have another relationship but still keep the one you had before. So it just, you end up with a kind of web, I suppose, of connected relationships. These are things people do. But isn't it just cheating is one of the common criticisms of polyamory and non-monogamy. Isn't it just cheating? Well, no, it's not, because it's not going behind someone's back. It's where there's honest communication and negotiation about it. You basically agree in the relationship to a different model of relationship. It doesn't have to be just the two people forever and never anybody else. Sometimes they might agree that they can separate sex from love, so that the love and intimacy, and maybe there's some forms of sex that you don't do with other people, but to keep it that special and intimate. But you can have certain sexual activities outside of that relationship, but not love. The love is the unique thing. Sometimes it's like it can be love as well with other people. You can open the relationship up to more people. There could be that boundary, like with closed polyamory, where there's only a limit within that, you know. This is an exclusive relationship, it's just more than two people. Or it can indeed be open fully to other relationships, other loves and other commitments. It's just that, I mean, obviously there'd still be a lot of careful negotiation and communication. There'd be rules, rules and limits placed on it, so that, you know, to protect people's feelings, and that's part of the negotiation process. So jealousy is something that people bring up a lot. Surely these relationships, these polyamorous relationships, are doomed to failure, because sooner or later jealousy and insecurity raise their heads, and it causes friction and causes relationships to basically fall apart, and people get hurt. This is a serious concern, but I think the thing is, people always ignore when they make these arguments, is that monogamous relationships also suffer from jealousy and insecurity, that if not dealt with properly, can cause the relationship to fall apart and people get hurt. Even if people are not cheating, which does happen an awful lot in monogamous relationships. So it's rather strange, I always think, when people knock polyamorous relationships because of this stuff, whilst saying things like, well, sometimes, you know, you cheat and that's what happens and blah. Because some people are very cavalier about cheating, and then they'll judge polyamorous relationships. Strange. Cheating's worse because you're actually lying and going behind someone's back. Yes, monogamous relationships are not immune to jealousy and insecurity and the problems that they can cause. Even if both people are fully committed and exclusive and do not cheat at all and completely 100% faithful, people can get suspicious, people can get paranoid, people can get jealous about imagined infidelities, and this can ruin relationships. People can even get funny about the thoughts in someone's head if they're particularly abusive and controlling. They can be trying to control a person's thoughts in their head, you know, mental infidelity and stuff. It's not like these issues never raise their heads and never mess up and cause monogamous relationships to fail. Monogamous relationships and polyamorous relationships are probably equally likely for jealousy and insecurity to ruin these things. So what makes the difference between a good relationship and a bad relationship is not whether it's monogamous or whether it's not. It is totally to do with communication and respect. Relationships fail when there is poor communication and a lack of consideration and respect for the other person or people. This is true of monogamous relationships and polyamorous relationships, and all relationships that are based on honest and fair communication. Proper, careful, fair, honest negotiation and communication between the individuals concerned, and maturity and respect and consideration in your dealings with one another. All relationships, monogamous or polyamorous, are far more likely to succeed in those situations. Possibly the only thing that could be said is, given the weakness and nobody's perfect, given the huge likelihood that relationships are going to fail because nobody's perfect, we're all weak and flawed human beings, that possibly the fallout from a polyamorous relationship is that bit more of a bitter pill to swallow than perhaps a fallout of a monogamous relationship, because you've got all those images and ideas of them with other people. I don't know. But possibly you have a cushion there because you have other people as a shoulder to cry on. I don't know. The one thing I've always thought about negative about polyamorous relationships is it could get very complicated very quickly. I find it far too complicated dealing with one other person. But on the other hand, I do find monogamous relationships sometimes, particularly when they turn ugly, to be very claustrophobic, scarily so. You feel isolated from other people, and when you're feeling at risk from the person you're with, that can be a very bad place to be in. So I don't know. It's a complex issue, and it's something for every person, I think, to sort out for themselves. The point I suppose I'd like to make on this video is that it's not really fair to judge other relationship models, because it's not a one-size-fits-all, and because these are relationships just as much supposed to be based on communication and respect, and it's just a different way of handling things. Everyone has urges, both romantic and sexual, for other people, however monogamous their relationship is, and that in itself can cause problems for monogamous relationships. It's how the individuals involved in a relationship deal with the fact that we are, however, that we are creatures of urges, romantic urges and sexual urges, and these things exist, and it's nice that it's like it's just you and me forever, and it's going to last forever, and we're just going to be with each other. It can seem like a really nice thing, but then, you know, things happen, feelings develop for other people, sometimes just sexual feelings. You don't have to act on it, of course. We all have fantasy, we all have masturbation that we can do for that, and that is the usual method of dealing with it. But hey, you know, people sometimes want to experiment, experience things with other people, and we all have romantic urges as well sometimes, and it happens seemingly without us expecting it, that someone will trigger something and we'll have feelings for them, and yet you can still have feelings for another person, so that you're already with. So different couples, different relationships, because the relationship might not just be a couple, have different ways of dealing with these issues, and it's not one size fits all, and really it's the business of the people involved in the relationship, what boundaries and guidelines and rules they want to follow in the relationship, what model of relationship they want to have, and as long as it's based on communication and respect, that's really the best remedy for success, and that's all you can hope for or expect, as long as it's ethical, as long as everyone agrees to it, and that's it. So that's all I want to say about the issue of polyamory and monogamy and that whole thing. Thanks for watching.